What makes a broken shepherd boy a man after God's own heart? Stay with me, because David's story does not begin with glory, it begins with rejection, danger, and the impossible. In the hills of Bethlehem, there lived a boy whom nobody expected to rise. While his brothers trained for war and stood proudly before their father, David tended sheep, alone, unseen, unnoticed. But God sees the unseen. And in the silence of the fields, David learned to worship, not to be seen by men, but to be loved by God. When Samuel arrived at Jesse's house, everyone believed the next king stood among David's older brothers. But God whispered a truth that shook the room. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. And in front of a stunned family, a shepherd boy was anointed king, not because of strength, but because of surrender. David's training ground was not a palace. It was danger. When predators attacked his flock, he fought them with nothing but courage and a sling. Each battle forged something deeper: faith, because David learned that victory does not come from weapons, but from trust. The world saw a giant. David saw a challenge to God's honor. As the soldiers trembled, he stepped forward, not with pride, but with confidence in the God who delivered him before, and with a single stone, he proved that faith is stronger than fear. After the giant fell, David's fame spread like wildfire. Songs were sung, crowds cheered, and the young shepherd became Israel's champion. But true greatness is not measured by applause, it is tested by humility, and David carried his victories with a quiet heart. With victory came envy. King Saul feared David's rise and hunted him like an enemy. David ran through caves and deserts, not for his life, but to protect his calling. Even when he had the chance to kill Saul, he spared him, because a man after God's heart refuses to take revenge. In the chaos of jealousy and war, God gave David a gift. Jonathan, a friend who stood closer than a brother. Their covenant was built not on politics, but on purpose. Jonathan believed in David's destiny, even when it cost him the throne. When Saul died, David finally took the throne. Israel celebrated, but the greatest battles were not against armies, they were within his own heart. David sinned, stumbled, and broke God's commands, but unlike Saul, David repented with tears, and God restored him. David's triumphs were great, yet his family suffered. He faced betrayal from his own son Absalom. Wound deeper than any sword. As he fled Jerusalem, barefoot and grieving, David learned that even kings must walk through heartbreak, but God never abandoned him. David was not perfect, but he was passionate. He wrote songs in the night, cried before God, danced with joy, and trusted even when everything fell apart. This is why Scripture calls him a man after God's own heart.